Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. We just did a big breakdown of the second Trump assassination attempt. Two different OutKick shows today. I told all of you that typically we would do college football reactions on Monday, NFL reactions on Tuesday. For people who just want sports, I understand. And so this is a college football exclusive Monday edition of the program. So we got a bunch of things to dive into on week 3 of college football. Let me start here. Phenomenal time in Madison, Wisconsin. I could not have had a better time. Thanks to my host, Matt Jokey, who played football at Wisconsin in the 1980s. He and his family were with us all day, landed super early in the morning. I've never seen, I mean this honestly, never seen a drunker town at 8 a.m. Central and 9 a.m. Central than as everybody got ready for the Alabama-Wisconsin game, which kicked right around 11 a.m. Central because of Big Noon, which was in Madison. Super fun environment there. They had the rapper Offset perform, which my kids were impressed by. Not surprisingly for many of you, I am not an expert in modern day rap, but I understand that he is Cardi B's baby daddy. Probably not on your bingo card for me to be breaking down rap families here. But that performance was super cool. Look, Alabama's still really good. So let's go to the actual result. Jump around was fantastic. But to me, and I wrote about this, I would encourage you to go read the starting 11, which will be up every Sunday morning. Still there. Type in my name, Clay Travis. You can find it. To me, the game pivoted. Certainly when Wisconsin got their starting quarterback injured, that was a huge part. But to me, the biggest takeaway was right inside of a minute to play, Wisconsin sets up for a field goal that would make it 14-6. They miss that field goal. Alabama takes possession back with, I believe, 27 seconds left. And in the space of 2 passes, super aggressive play calling, they go down the field and score a touchdown to go up 21-3. Then they get possession to start the second half. First, score again. It was 28-3. And the game was over. All of the hype, all of the excitement from Madison, from Camp Randall Stadium was gone. And the Crimson Tide, behind Jalen Milroe's 5 touchdowns, took complete control of this game. The Bama offense seemed to get hot in the fourth quarter against South Florida, has continued that into the middle part of this game, and put it away 142-10. Now they get a week off. Next week, not this weekend, but next weekend, I'm going to be down in Tuscaloosa, and I'm taking my 14-year-old, who is still, much to my chagrin, a diehard Alabama fan. I'm going to be in Tuscaloosa for the Georgia-Alabama game. Georgia right now, 2.5-point favorite in that game. As good as Alabama looked on the road against Wisconsin, let me pivot into Georgia, Kentucky. Congratulations to the Wildcats. You did everything potentially to win this game, except your coach managed to actually freeze up in the biggest moment of the game. And I want to make sure I get all these facts right. I went back and looked it up. In that situation, Kentucky down 1 point, 13-12. They had a 4th and 8 at the Georgia 47-yard line. That is just over on the Georgia side of the field. They have been bombing through. I think Kentucky made 2 50-plus yard field goals. So they had a really good, strong kicker that night. They face a 4th and 8. Now, I looked up the data on this because I was kind of curious. In the NFL, teams convert 4th and 8 about 40% of the time. So somewhat higher than maybe some of you would have anticipated. Around 40% of the time. Let's bump that down in college football and say it's only a third of the time. From a pure sort of win percentage perspective, this is not a challenging decision. Because no matter what decision you make, you're going to have to get a stop and use your timeouts in order to get the football back. So if you convert the first down, Yet as you convert the 4th and 8, you're in a phenomenal position to potentially run the clock all the way down, not give the football back to Carson Beck, Kirby Smart, and the Georgia football team. If you don't get it, then Georgia takes possession wherever you are stopped, and you use your timeouts and try to force them to punt. So I think you have to go for it there. I don't even think it's a very difficult decision from a win probability perspective. Mark Stoops punted. On the second play, right after that, Georgia's back at the 49-yard line of Georgia. That is, they hit one pass play, and all of the decision made by Mark Stoops is gone. Eventually, Kentucky gets the ball back with 9 seconds left, has no chance basically to actually win this game. I thought it was the wrong decision for Kentucky if they were trying to beat Georgia. And you're Kentucky. You're 1-1. You just got dominated by South Carolina last week. What do you have to lose? This would be one of the biggest wins in the history of Kentucky football. In the words of the immortal Ric Flair, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. You can't rely on Georgia to self-destruct. This wasn't Monday morning quarterbacking. This wasn't Sunday morning quarterbacking. On Twitter in real time as I'm watching this game, I said, how in the world are you going to punt here? What are you remotely thinking? You may well not get the ball back, and you didn't. People say, oh, he wanted to rely on his defense. That's fine. Either way, you still have to get a stop, whether it's a stop on the 20-yard line of Georgia or whether it's a stop near midfield. You're going to have to get a stop to win. This, to me, is indefensible the way they failed. Okay. Those were the two I thought most interesting games of the day. And now Alabama and Georgia are set up to play on September 28th. And again, I'll be there for Big Noon, which I cannot wait for. Arch Manning. Questionable whether Quinn Ewers is going to play in this upcoming week. But look at what Arch did when he came in after the abdominal injury to Quinn Ewers. Arch Manning went 9 for 12 passing for 223 yards and had a 60-some-odd yard scramble touchdown, the longest rushing touchdown for a quarterback at Texas since Vince Young. Cooper Manning had a funny line posed with his wife. I love Cooper. Said his wife that his son must have gotten the speed from his wife. Actually, Cooper's being somewhat kind here to his wife because Cooper was actually a really good wide receiver with great speed, but he had spinal stenosis, so he had to stop playing for Ole Miss. He actually got the Archie Manning speed, and Eli and Peyton got the throwing ability, but it looks like maybe Arch got the speed and the throwing ability. I can't wait to see how he's going to play next. Feels like Texas got the best backup quarterback in the country. Tennessee goes out and gets up 65-0 against Kent State. It's the most dominant half of football I've ever seen in FBS. 520-some-odd yards for Tennessee in the first half, about 20 total yards for Kent State. And Tennessee ends up winning 71-0. We're going to talk about this game quite a lot this week. I would argue maybe the most intriguing game in the upcoming weekend, week 4 of college football. Josh Heupel going back on the road against his old school, Oklahoma, at night in the Sooners' debut in the SEC. Tennessee all the way out to a 7.5-point favorite in this game after beginning the season as a 5-point or so underdog. This is the game where if Tennessee wins it, you're going to see Tennessee fans on social media absolute turn into crazy people because I started writing in 2004, and I'm going to talk about this more in the future. This has the potential to be the best University of Tennessee football team that I have seen since I started my media career and since I started writing about college football. That's how good this Tennessee team could be. But in order to validate that opinion, they need to go on the road and they need to beat Oklahoma and get to the bye week at 4-0. So, again, little bit of nervous apprehension. I think this Tennessee team, particularly on defense, and with Nico continuing to get better, has the potential to be really, really good. But we will see come Saturday night how they perform. Billy Napier. Florida gets dominated by Texas A&M. First road SEC win in like 3 years for A&M. Props out there to Marcel Reed, who is the quarterback that started for Texas A&M because Connor Wegman was hurt. Marcel Reed played fantastically well. A&M was the more physical team. Billy Napier's done. And in fact, in the Sunshine State, we are looking at the saddest rivalry game on Thanksgiving weekend that any of us have ever seen between Florida and Florida State, because Florida State lost to Memphis and Florida lost to Texas A&M. And now I just don't see any way that Billy Napier is going to keep his job. In fact, I think there's a possibility Billy Napier gets fired if Florida goes on the road and loses to Mississippi State. Several different big wins by non-Power 4 team. I want to give them a shout out again. This is from the starting 11. Toledo beats Mississippi State. Didn't just beat them, whipped them. And now the two worst teams in the SEC so far this year, I think Mississippi State and the Florida Gators going to play in Starkville in the Battle of Sadness. UNLV, shout out Barry Odom, gets the win over Kansas, now 3-0 for the first time since 1984. Washington State beats Washington. Big win for Washington State in the Apple Cup after Washington bails and goes to the Big Ten. Memphis, as we mentioned, beats Florida State to get to 3-0. Georgia State beats Vanderbilt, double-digit favorite. Vanderbilt loses. I'm going to try to shout out the smaller conference teams who get big wins over big conference teams. LSU, what do we think about LSU? I got a lot of questions about them. Down 17-0 against South Carolina. Credit, they fought back. But this LSU team, the fan base does not seem convinced that Brian Kelly is the right fit. We were a few points away from pure chaos on the Bayou. Now, LSU looks likely to get to 4-1 when Ole Miss comes to town, and we'll see whether or not they can put things together and get a big top 10 win there. I got destroyed in gambling. There will be much discussion about it. 3-12. Only games I won, Washington State, Tennessee, and UNLV. I got a lot of ground to make up. We did a little bit better in the NFL. Talk about that tomorrow. Had a winning day. Lots to make up there on that disaster. All right, playoff 12. I am going to give you my playoff 12. This is presented by Hims Healthcare. It is designed for you, delivered to your door. My playoff 12. There's a longer form 12 out there, but I wanted to give you my 12 because I made the decision to rank as if I were a member of the committee. First 4 spots go to SEC team champion, Big Ten champion, ACC champion, and a Big 12 champion, or another conference champion that ranks above those. In other words, the 4 teams that get byes in the 12-team playoff have to win their conferences. I think there's almost no chance that there is going to be a non-Power 4 team getting a bye, but it is possible. Why do I think that? Because with the elimination of divisions, you're probably going to have to be at least 10-2 to get into the championship game in the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, or the ACC. So I think the odds of there being, let's say, an 8-4 champ are pretty low. I could be wrong. We'll see. But right now, Texas I would have as the 1 seed, SEC champ Texas. Ohio State I would have as the 2 seed. That is Ohio State, Big Ten champs. 3, I would have Miami as the ACC champion. 4, I would have Utah as the Big 12 champion. You can see we have a poll that is out there. It is up on the screen beside me right now. That is the top 12 as voted by all of our voters. I'm giving you my top 12 right now, but you can see on the screen the top 12 there. I've got Alabama as the 5, Tennessee as the 6, Ole Miss as the 7, Georgia as the 8, USC, that's Southern Cal, as the 9, Penn State as the 10, Missouri as the 11, And I've got Memphis off their Florida State win as the 12. Northern Illinois could be in the mix. You could have, based on wins we've seen over power conference teams, UNLV. You could have a bunch of different teams. I've got Memphis there right now. That means my playoff, you got the 4 byes from Texas, Ohio State, Miami, and Utah. Utah, by the way, plays Oklahoma State. Big game in the Big 12 this weekend. I would have number 5, Alabama, against number 12, Memphis. I would have number 6, Tennessee. This would be my playoff. Number 6, Tennessee would be hosting number 11, Missouri. Number 7, Ole Miss down in the Grove would be hosting number 10, Penn State. And number 8, Georgia would be hosting number 9, Southern Cal. The winners of those games, so the 4 hosting home teams would be Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Georgia. In my 12 right now, you would have 4 SEC teams hosting home playoff games. Whoever won those games would advance and play in the final 8. My SEC power rankings, Texas 1. Again, that's brought to you by Hims. Texas 1, Bama 2, Tennessee 3, Ole Miss 4, Georgia 5, Missouri 6, Oklahoma 7, LSU 8. By the way, only 7 undefeated SEC teams left right now. LSU 8, South Carolina 9, A&M 10, Arkansas 11, Vanderbilt 12, Auburn 13, Kentucky 14, 2 worst teams, Florida 15, and Mississippi State 16. Finally, my overall top 10. This is based entirely on what we saw on the field. I have Texas Longhorns number 1 overall team, Bama 2, Tennessee 3, Ole Miss 4, Ohio State 5, Miami 6, Georgia 7, USC 8, Missouri 9, Northern Illinois 10. That is based on my top 10 entirely on the field results. Again, I loved it. Had an amazing time in Madison, Wisconsin. A little bit of a preview for you tomorrow. Breaking NFL news just over an hour or so ago. Former Alabama quarterback Bryce Young benched in favor of Andy Dalton. We will talk about that tomorrow with the Panthers. We will also talk all NFL tomorrow, unless there's more crazy news. 2 shows today from me, an hour straight basically of additional talking after 3 hours on the radio. 1 on the Trump assassination attempt, the second one, everything that I think is significant, and this one that just ended on college football. Up next in about 5 minutes, you're going to get Hot Mike with Chad Withrow and Jonathan Hutton. You guys will enjoy that. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for your support of OutKick, and I will see you guys tomorrow.